rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to American Perspective. I always knew that the leftists were relatively evil, that they had evil intentions, that they had no brains, and I try to give them and give people like that the benefit of the doubt. But after this event, this weather event that nobody really could have anticipated or honestly would have had any kind of responsibility whatsoever, meaning no person, the way these morons have been acting has basically created a new category for them. And that pretty much is the title of the show. They are sick, disgusting, utter, I think I missed complete, but complete, utter, stupid morons. Every single one of them. Now, I'm not necessarily angry anymore. I was over the weekend. I was kind of angry because the more that I stayed on the social media, which, by the way, I've determined that Facebook has some good people, and so does X, and so does any of the other social media platforms. But for the most part, it must be the algorithms because basically because I keep getting the stupid morons in my feed. I don't think I have very many people who actually are, commenting or posts that come up in my feed that are actually American loving patriots. So obviously the algorithms are tracking all of my comments and everything else. But yeah, these people are just absolutely sick and disgusting. I'll get to that in just a few minutes. But first, let me go ahead and welcome everybody. And also too, tonight, the first up, obviously, is the Pledge of Allegiance, and tonight is My News. My News is on deck for tonight's pledge, so if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, and remove your hat if you're wearing one like me. Place your hand over your heart and follow along with My News as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I thank you, My News, for that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, then all you have to do is record yourself reciting the pledge in your style, whether it's a audio file, video file, whatever kind of file. Take that file, attach it to an email, send it to me, send it to fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, F-A-N-S, at AmericanPerspective.online. Tonight's headline sponsor is me. Yes, right here. There it is. The American Perspective logoed gear. There's my shirt. It's one of my alternate. Actually, is this the alternate? And no, that's the original. So the original logo, that's not the alternate logo. That's the original logo. And you can get those if you head off to store.americanperspective.online. You can get crew neck shirts, hoodies, t-shirts, tank tops, long sleeve shirts. I also have let's see. I also have, of course, links for the leather-bound U.S. Constitution, as well as female racerback tank tops and things like that. So, yeah, and 3 Chevys wearing his American Perspective logoed shirts. I got them in 3 different logo styles, and the shirt colors, for the most part, are gray, white, or black. And the 3 logos kind of change depending upon what the color of the shirt is. Just because of the fact that the shirts and everything, obviously, if I put a certain logo on a certain color of shirt, it'll wash out the logo, parts of the logo. So anyway, head on over to store.americanperspective.online and pick up something. If you're a fan of the American Perspective show, believe me, you got to get a logoed shirt or logoed sweatshirt or logoed hoodie, something. I also have some cups and things like that, a water bottle and stuff like that, and I believe it's logo style 3. So you can go and check that out too. Yeah, the only place that you can get this gear, of course, is store.americanperspective.online, store.americanperspective.online. And I have, yeah, so there you go. You can head on over there. And I've tried to keep the costs as low as possible. I only take a small bit off the top for here. And so there you go. That's the best place you can get it. Go to store.americanperspective.online. I'm sorry, I'm seeing some of the chat, and I won't say it out online, but yeah, I'm seeing some of the chat. Anyway, all right, so there you go. That's it. There it is. There it is. All right, well, I'm really frustrated with these people. You know, the old adage that Dan Bongino used to say, probably still does, but used to say, was that, you know, leftists believe that conservatives are bad people with ideas, and conservatives generally think leftists are just people with bad ideas. Well, I am not so sure anymore. Okay? And the reason being is because these people are just absolutely sick and disgusting. In fact, there was even one reports of 1 or 2 people that, and by people, I don't know, they were something. I don't know what they were, but they got fired from their jobs because of the things that they posted with respect to the fact that this event occurred in Texas. And they posted online that, hey, guess what? Trump supporters got what they deserved. How can anybody really deserve death? I mean, outside of like a really, I don't know, outside of like a criminal or whatever, I can't imagine how. I mean, at best, somebody posting something like that would be just completely, utterly stupid. And honestly have literally zero, I guess, presence of mind to really understand what it is that they were going to say. But the fact that you're sitting here, I mean, right now, Texas, the last count has surpassed 100 people dead. And the searches are continuing today. And in Kerr County, 84 people at least have died, including 28 children. 28 children. And I can't imagine. First of all, there's parents. Oh my gosh, there are parents who sent their kids off to a Christian summer camp. And in the matter of a day, not even a full day, they're gone. They're gone. there was a mother. I'm not necessarily going to play the clip, but if you look in the show notes, it's in the Fox News article. There's a mother who basically recalled the last time that she talked to her daughter before that she went missing. And this is a 21-year-old who is missing. She was one of the counselors. And, yeah. Now, I'm sorry, I said she was a counselor. That's not true. My apologies. She's 21-year-old. She was with her boyfriend at his home with other friends when the floodwaters swept the home away. I just, having two kids of my own, I can't imagine that you would have like a conversation and then all of a sudden they're just gone. They're just wiped from the face of the earth, and you literally have no more communication with them. They just disappear. And I honestly, to sit here and turn this into some sort of a political event. Now, I report on, tragedies all the time. And especially I report, and discuss and put my opinions on things that deal with very sensitive topics. One of which, of course, is the death of multiple children in any kind of an event, whether it's an event like this or an event like a mass shooting at a school or something along those lines. But the thing about it is that I don't sit here and necessarily make it a political discussion until some of the facts come out, until we start seeing some of the things that are going on and the truth. And these people immediately jumped on the bandwagon of the idea that this was a problem with NOAA and the National Weather Service. Not even waiting a few hours to find out what the hell happened. And this is, the searches are still continuing, but they last, according to this Fox News article, the last count was 104 that were killed in this central Texas area. The Camp Mystic in Hunt, Texas is mourning the loss of 27 campers and counselors. As of earlier this afternoon, 10 campers and 1 counselor were remaining on the missing list. And here's the thing, folks. The National Weather Service had 5 people on duty that night. The normal number of people on duty for that particular area is 2. So they had more than enough staff. There's nothing to suggest anywhere that there was a failure in the alerting or any of that other kind of stuff. What ended up happening, people, is what happens whenever you're in a situation like this and you have weather related incidents that come out. It happened overnight, and it happened fast, like really, really fast. Faster than anyone else could have anticipated. So the first flash flood watch issued for Kerr County was at 1 p.m. Central Time on Thursday. At 4 a.m. Central Time, now note that time, 4 a.m. Central Time on Friday, the warning level was elevated to a flash flood emergency. Now, this comes from the Associated Press. Now, during that time, they issued the alerts, they issued everything that they were supposed to. And here's the thing. Whenever you have something like that, and believe me, I've been in situations where, yeah, my stupidity might have gotten me killed. For an example, I have been through 2 tornado warnings in my lifetime. One was while I was working in Oklahoma. The other one was while I was at Fort Hood, Texas in my military days. And whenever you hear a tornado warning, okay, you're supposed to seek shelter immediately. Well, my young and dumb ass went to go look at the tornado because I've never seen one. That's not entirely true. I have seen them, obviously, but I'd never seen one in real life. And so what did I do? Yeah, I jumped. I went outside. I went outside to watch. Yeah. Yeah. And, that's, unfortunately, there are certain circumstances where you're just not, if you don't heed those warnings, then you literally are taking your life into your own hands. And, stuff like this, flash floods, I mean, I'm telling you from experience too, even on the military post, they had signs posted everywhere in any kind of low spot, whether it was a low ditch or a low, where the road was crossing. They had signs that basically would say, warning, flash flood area. Do not loiter. Don't stay here. Go through it. Don't hang out. And unfortunately, if people don't take heed of the warnings, it's no different than like a hurricane warning. I mean, if you decide to bunker down in place, you have to understand that there is a certain level of risk that you are taking with those kinds of actions and those choices. And unfortunately, in this particular case, because this happened so damn fast, there was no way out. There was no way out. The people that were hanging out on Mount St. Helens when she blew, okay, when the people who were hanging out, Mount St. Helens gave all the indications that she was going to blow eventually. Nobody could have predicted exactly when. But at 9:18 a.m. Pacific time, on May 18th, 1980, in a matter of seconds, she blew out her top, blew off the whole north face of the mountain, and it slid down and completely killed the people who were unfortunately so close. Harry Truman, not the president, but Harry Truman, he was named for the president. He stood at his cabin on Spirit Lake and swore up and down the mountain ain't gonna blow. And he ended up being buried up there. I'm not even sure if they've even bothered to look for him or look for his cabin excavated in any way. There are a matter of choices that do come into play, and there's also a matter of tragic decision-making that does come into play. There's no blame for any of this. There's no way to blame Donald Trump, but because of the fact that these leftists hate, and yes, hate Donald Trump so bad, they have such a proverbial hard-on for getting rid of Donald Trump because they think that he is the bane of their existence. This is TDS, my friends, Trump derangement syndrome. This is TDS at its highest level. They have to find something to put the blame on Donald Trump, even though he literally had nothing to do with it. Which, by the way, just to point this out, all of those cuts that they keep talking about, yeah, they actually don't go into effect until 2026. They don't go into effect in 2026. Senator Chris Murphy, Democrat from Connecticut, sick, disgusting, just absolutely horrendous, complete, utter moron, wrote on X, accurate weather forecasting helps avoid fatal disasters. There are consequences to Trump's brainless attacks on public workers like meteorologists. Yeah, they had nothing. There's nothing. There's not even any evidence, by the way. There's not even any evidence that the cuts are even going to affect anything like this. You know, the people who have the ability to look into this have all agreed. These are the meteorologists, the ones who are supposed to know, who predict weathers and everything else. Meteorologists, by the way, have largely concluded that the local officials actually performed their jobs to the best of their ability. That they were not actually hindered by any kind of federal cuts. What this was, folks, was a perfect storm. A perfect confluence of the exacting conditions in order to create something like this. So what happens here is the fact that, first of all, the riverbed, the Guadalupe River bed, I don't know if anybody's seen some of the photos of that are reportedly of prior to this event. It was almost completely dry. I mean, like, really dry. And whenever ground gets that dry, as I pointed out on Saturday, whenever the ground gets that dry, it literally becomes like concrete. Nothing penetrates it. It takes forever for water to actually get back into the ground. And so what ends up happening is the surface, basically, the water has no place to go. It can't be absorbed. And so therefore, all it does is roll off. Now, what happened here was essentially the moisture that was remaining from what's called Tropical Storm Barry coming up from Mexico, combined with a low-pressure system. Now, for those of you that don't know, low pressures, they create troughs in the atmosphere. And so what ended up happening, and this is over a geologic formation called a Balcones Escarpment. It caused the air mass to rapidly rise hundreds of feet and trigger intense storms. Now, you have shallow soil on rocky terrain susceptible to becoming, basically act like concrete. To act like concrete. And so essentially what ended up happening here is you had a moisture-laden air that was rapidly cooled. And as it cooled, going up into the atmosphere, as it cooled, the rain started to come down. But what's even worse, though, is the fact that these storms, these particular storms at first were thought that they would be able to move across the landscape rather than holding over this one area. This one particular area. Now, we currently have estimates that dropped, that they basically, this entire storm dropped roughly 10 inches of rain in 3 to 4 hours. Some areas over there received even up to 15 to 16 inches of rain here. Two inches over 24 hours, according to let's see, what's this guy's name? Greg Walker. So Greg Walker is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's hydrologist. For those of you that don't know, or hydrologist. For those of you that don't know, that's a person who studies rain, studies water events, and things like that. And what he said is 2 inches over 24 hours produces a different runoff pattern than 2 inches in half an hour. So water levels along the Guadalupe River appeared to return to normal levels 2 days after this flooding. But Walker confirmed that the rainfall rate of 1.5 to 2 inches per hour would also trigger flood warnings again. So this is a really slow-moving storm. Okay, and that particular area, by the way, you know, that Guadalupe River has been called one of the most deadly flooding rivers in Texas. So this is obviously an area that is already at risk for flooding. And people are aware of this, at least the locals are. But you have, on top of all this, the locals, but also an influx of people who may not be used to these kinds of, this kind of area. And what ends up happening is this particular situation, again, with the people involved, with the storm, the way it stalled over this particular area, the land mass itself, basically set up a perfect scenario for an event like this. By the way, the meteorologists have already been saying, oh yeah, we're going to be studying this and we're going to be teaching this and we're going to be having all kinds of, you know, conversations about this because we know now that it's happened, it's going to happen again. Now, the storm itself, let's see, who is this guy? Fogarty. Let me see if I can find him. Find his name. There's Walker. Trying to find Fogarty's name. Rob Fogarty, who is the National Weather Service meteorologist at the San Antonio Austin office, basically said that the rain that was being dropped was a bit more than we thought. The forecast models didn't account for the slower movement of the storm. So again, the storm was moving slow. The rock, geographical rock of the area and very low topsoil count created a hard pan surface where this water just has no place else to go. Has no place else to go. Now, you add to that the fact that the flood height for this particular area, in particular, they call out, and by the way, this is the Epic Times piece that you can see in the show notes. You can go and read all of this yourself. I'm not just spewing crap off the tip of my tongue here. But the flood stage for that particular spot in Hunt, Texas, is 10 feet. 10 feet. Now, when you have a river flood warning is specifically tied to an immediate area around a river. Okay? And this is unlike a flash flood warning, which could be issued anywhere at the time. At 3:50 a.m., the service updated its warning, announcing that the river height near Hunt reached 19.4 feet and was expected to reach beyond 23 feet. And keep in mind, there are estimates saying that it reached at least 29 feet. The height of the river, the flood stage at Hunt, is again at 10 feet. 10 feet. So this is 3 times flood stage. And what they mean by flood stage is that the height that the river must reach for the water to start becoming hazardous to the close by property and life. At 4:46 a.m., so this is up in Hunt, all right, up in Hunt, at 3:50 a.m., they updated its warning because Hunt had reached 19.4 feet. The warning included a spot where it said at 25 feet, major flooding severely floods resort camps along the South Fork below the River Inn Resort to Hunt. Okay? At 4:46 a.m., the warning was issued for Kerrville, stating that the waters there had reached 7 feet and were forecasted to reach 25 feet that morning. Kerrville's flood stage is 9 feet. At 6:05, the town of Comfort was warned that the river was forecast to rise to 30 feet. There, its flood stage is 21 feet. Folks, again, this was an absolute perfect scenario for a tragedy like this because of the fact that it happened overnight, it happened fast, it happened because of a slow-moving storm, and it happened over the top of what is essentially hard pan soil. Not even soil there. It's rock. It's horrible. It's like concrete. This is just, yeah, the timing, the overnight rain event. It was a holiday weekend. Population not being familiar with the issues they were visiting. Yeah. And yet the leftists don't want to look at any of this reality and understand that this is just essentially an unavoidable incident. There was nothing that could be done. Everybody did what they needed to do, and everybody did what they could. But the left, of course, wants to blame somebody because the left doesn't like accountability. They don't like responsibility upon themselves. You know, prior to the invention of Doppler weather radar and the ability to track tornadoes accounted for a lot of deaths in the Midwest and the Southwest. And yet scientists tried to figure out a way to be able to track these things, and they eventually invented the ability to now where you can at least have a warning. But here's the problem. The warnings, even though they still come, they may not come fast enough. Because unfortunately, weather events such as these, high-powered storms such as these, are very unpredictable. They are increasingly harder to predict. Amounts of rainfall is increasingly harder to predict. And this is not something that you can blame anybody for. Well, it's not just these floods, by the way, that are a problem. You also, out west, we have things called wildfires. By the way, we also have things called earthquakes. Earthquakes can be even more devastating because there is no warning on an earthquake. None. They just hit. Because we have no way of anticipating. I mean, we know where the faults are. We know where the risk factors are, but we don't necessarily know when the plates are going to shift. Tectonic plates are going to shift, and the crust of the earth is going to let go at any given moment. We have no idea, no clue. And yet when an earthquake happens, you don't blame it on the National Weather Service or the National Geological, the USGS. You don't blame it on them because they literally have no capability of warning ahead of time. None. Gavin Newsom decided to step into the chat, and I'll get to him in just a moment. But first, This particular sponsorship is from Rumble, one that is incredibly important to the survival of the company. When Rumble first started in 2013, they built the platform for the small creator. They didn't censor or have biases. They were fair and treated all creators, like me, equally. No one thought platforms would censor political conversation or censor opinions on COVID, but they did. Facebook admitted that they fell to the pressure from the Biden-Harris administration. Rumble did not. They held the line. They are attacked daily for giving us a voice to talk to you. They are attacked in corporate media, attacked by governments like France, attacked from brand advertisers who refuse to work with them. Corporate America is fighting to remove free speech. Rumble is fighting to keep it. Rumble won't survive with brand advertisers. They don't get too many that advertise on their platform. Watching our show on Rumble is the most they can ask from you, but if you really believe in this fight and if you have the means, one major way you can help Rumble survive is by joining Rumble Premium. Join the community that believes in the First Amendment and believes in our human right to free speech. Rumble is offering $10 off with the promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com / for those of you that are uneducated, that is the question mark key on your keyboard. Go to rumble.com / premium and use promo code STUDIO to get $10 off when you purchase an annual subscription. Go to rumble.com / premium to get $10 off using promo code STUDIO when you purchase an annual subscription. Remember to use that promo code STUDIO when you go to rumble.com / premium to get that $10 off when you order or purchase an annual subscription. Like I said, if you have the means and believe in the cause, now is the time to join Rumble Premium. If you don't have the means, we're just happy if you watch us on Rumble. Well, California is got some wildfires going. By the way, so does Washington. Washington has one over by Lake Chelan again. My daughter was over there for a 4th of July celebration togetherness, and they could actually see the fire from their cabin. They were actually moving closer to it when they went to go play golf one morning. But anyway, California, of course, is on fire again. And Gavin Newsom is, of course, doing what leftists always do, and that is blame Trump. He's directing public criticism at Trump, accusing the federal government of failing to adequately fund firefighting and land management operations. Here's the thing, and I really want people to, I really want you to think about this, okay? Our government, our system of government is built on the principle that the closer that you get to the people, the more impact not only do the laws have, but also the more taxes would be going toward what was essentially local services. This is the whole purpose of government is, and the whole concept of having a very small central federal government and having more layers the closer you get to the people. And the reason for this is, of course, to make sure that not only the money, but also the laws impacting these individuals are the individual people, we the people, are closer to us so that we have more influence not only on them, but also more influence on what our money is being spent on. This is what we're supposed to be doing here. Now, this jackass, Newsom, in California, who has aspirations to become president of the United States, is being very vocal about this whole thing. So the Madre fire is burning through central California. He's been active on social media. On X, he posts, in just the past 24 hours, 15 new fires have ignited on federal land from Modoc to Klamath to Trinity. And he goes, Trump needs to wake up and start funding federal firefighters and land management teams in these rural communities instead of giving tax cuts to billionaires. So once again, he's blaming this tax cut, which, by the way, I went through on Saturday. The whole big, beautiful bill, which does not contain a tax cut for billionaires. Okay? All it did was it just encoded and made permanent the tax cuts that were from the TCJA. End of story. I've already covered this. If you want to find out, just go back to Saturday's episode and you'll be able to figure it out. However, Madre Fire started and exploded on federal lands. This is his Governor Newsom's press office. This is a separate account on X. The Madre Fire, which started and exploded on federal lands, is now mapped at more than 70,000 acres with a containment of up to 10%. Now, here it says the state remains in lockstep with our federal partners, and CAL FIRE has significantly increased air and ground resources in the last 24 hours. Okay, there's only one problem with this. There's a large portion of that fire that, even though it started on federal lands, actually is on state lands. That's right. We also have the federal funding debate needs to also take into account California's own wildfire preparedness. For an example, Newsom's administration cut $100 million from fire prevention funds from the 2024 to 2025 state budget. That move in particular has drawn bipartisan scrutiny amid this intensifying wildfire season, which, by the way, the intensifying wildfire season, the only reason why it is more intense is because of the fact that the environmentalists put so many freaking restrictions on how you can go in and clear the forest lands. In other words, they don't allow you to clean up deadfalls, things that make fires not only burn hotter, but also faster. Okay? In these spaces, you can't go and build in roads, logging roads that act as natural fire breaks. These people are just sitting here and all they can do is point fingers and blame, when in reality, it's the fact that they don't seem to understand. Management is an active process. You cannot just allow these forests to grow unencumbered and die off unencumbered and expect good results. Dead wood, undergrowth, underbrush, all of this stuff, especially when it gets hot, is nothing more than tinder for these fires. And it does nothing more than feed the fires. By the way, the reduction in funding that Newsom's administration put in include planned fuel reduction projects and also deferred maintenance on critical equipment. So the Madre Fire, which is spreading rapidly through rural parts of Central California, is the latest in a series of destructive wildfires to hit the state. And the majority of the burn, according to Dustin Garage, Grage, Grage on X, said, notice how Gavin Newsom ignores the vast majority of the burn is located on state lands. Yeah. Yep. So, again, this is going to be the situation. They are going to do nothing but blame this president because he happens to be a Republican president. Because he happens to be a Republican president. They could care less. If Biden was involved, none of this, they wouldn't even be talking about this. They would be applauding how well the responses have been coming from the White House, or how well the, FEMA management and everything else. I mean, look at what happened in East Palestine, Ohio, when the train derailed. The only person that showed up with actual product to assist was Donald Trump. He went there with water and some supplies and so on and so forth. Biden didn't even Biden showed up. He showed up later. What's his name? Pete Buttigieg, who was the transportation secretary at the time, he didn't even bother to show up. These people are sick, disgusting, absolutely stupid morons. Oh, hey, did you hear about the anti-immigration protests that happened? Let's see, when did they happen? Oh, it's over the weekend. Yeah, over the weekend. They were protesting gentrification, immigration. They had angry residents expressing outrage over the rising expenses and cultural degeneration of what was going on in there. Yeah, did you see this? Did you see this stuff? Here, listen.
The reason we've gathered here is precisely to hear the thoughts of many victims, mainly young people today, for whom it's almost impossible to live, to find housing. It's not just that. We're living the consequences of gentrification, which is the government directing its public policies towards people with higher purchasing power, often illegally displacing local population who have lived in these neighborhoods for 40, 50.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. No, actually, that I'm not sorry. That was what was happening in Mexico, folks. Mexico. That's right, Mexico. The Mexicans have had enough with illegal immigration. They've had enough of it too. Really? It's not just happening here in the United States. These anti-immigration, and Homeland Security, of course, pointed it out. I got to show you this. This is the first time I've done that. All right. So, yeah, here's some examples. What does this look like? There's a photograph of a Mexican national holding up a sign in Mexico City from one of the riots. And he goes, pay taxes, learn Spanish, respect my culture. So it's not just Americans who want illegal immigrants out. They also have, by the way, they had, there's another photograph here, and this was posted by Homeland Security, too. End Wokeness was the original post, but then Homeland Security retweeted it. Or reposted it, I should say. Well, there's another photo here where this guy is just finishing up a graffiti tag that says, "Not your home." So I guess Americans aren't the only ones who don't like immigrants, illegal immigrants, in their cities and states and so on and so forth. Here in the piece, according to the New York Times, the protests, which turned violent on Friday night, reflected the growing frustration that many of the capital's residents who have watched rents skyrocket, old neighborhoods turn into swanky developments as the city has become a major tourist destination and a base for many so-called digital nomads. Yeah. Yep. So apparently it's they also, by the way, some of the protesters likened the influx of migrants to Western colonialism, which I don't know where they get that idea from, but yeah. A couple people have saying, yeah. So here's one Kentucky girl. She says, did you know that Mexicans in Mexico City are out protesting against Americans immigrating to Mexico? Apparently, the Americans aren't assimilating, and the Mexicans are big mad. Yeah. Gee, I wonder why. And here, there's a chant going on saying, gringos, stop stealing our homes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So, there you go. There you go. Oh, you freaking morons. They just are. The leftists. Well, speaking about that, some of these leftist women, now I got to be honest with you, the largest demographic of the leftist movement is white suburban women. Okay? That's the biggest demographic. Okay? And on the 4th of July, otherwise known as, and more importantly, correctly referred to as Independence Day, well, they were going around posting and things like, oh, you can't celebrate Independence Day while supporting a man who is actively trying to dismantle our democracy. Yeah, let's take a listen to one of these morons.
If you support Donald Trump, I better not see you wearing red, white, and blue, flying a flag, eating apple pie, or even taking the day off work on the 4th of July. You can wear orange and eat Big Macs on Donald Trump's birthday, but the 4th of July, Independence Day, no, you cannot celebrate Independence Day while simultaneously supporting a man that is actively trying to dismantle our democracy and undermining the Constitution at every turn, because you do not love this country. You do not value this country. You love Donald Trump for some unknown reason, and you've decided to put him above our country and the principles upon which it was founded.
She needs to freaking learn what the principles on which this country was founded upon. She needs to learn about this. In fact, I bet she hasn't even ever read the Constitution of the United States. Well, it's not just her. Now, one thing I want you to notice in that video, if you're watching on video, one thing I want you to notice, the wide eyes, okay? All of these leftists, they all have the same affliction. Their eyes get extremely wide. And it's not just like blonde, folks. Check this one out. This one was posted by Defiant L's.
Good morning and fuck you. Fuck you if you are supporting this administration. Fuck you if you voted for this administration. Fuck you if you support this cruelty.
Okay, I'd like to understand what cruelty she is talking about here. I mean, realistically. Now, notice, once again, there's the eyes. Here, let me show you. Look at those eyes. She's got them wide. They're wide. They're wide. Ah! These people are weird. Oh, hey, and check this out. Oh, this one was posted by Vince Langman.
Happy birthday, America. You became everything you were designed not to be. Donald Trump wouldn't be able to get a job at an elementary school, and yet y'all elect him to be the leader of our country! I'm so fed up!
Yeah, you need to read the Constitution, sweetheart. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these people. Oh, here's one. This one is specifically about the big beautiful bill.
Are you feeling nervous?
Oh, sorry, I forgot this one. This one has music on it. I love it when they put stuff to music. They don't even say anything. They don't even say. Oh my gosh. Now here's a couple of the responses. So one of those videos, you can see the picture, the one that just went nuts about voting for him and how he's tearing up all this stuff. This one person responded, said she would be cute if she used logic instead of raw emotions to drive her opinions. Yep. Another one, her mental anguish pleases me. Here's one on that potty mouth. She's like, looks like somebody ran out of meth and food stamps. Oh, my gosh. And then the one that I was going to try and play you, the one that she's crying. She's crying. I'm just going to tell you, she's sitting here crying with the music in the background, and the big label on the thing is "The Big Beautiful Bill Passed. I'm so sorry." Well, anyway, somebody responded to that one and said, crying into the void like she just found out Coachella got canceled and her government-subsidized oat milk didn't show up. Middle-aged misery, dressed like a deranged backup dancer for Rage Against the Machine, hair chopped like she let a blind toddler loose with some hedge clippers. And it continues. Oh, my gosh, these people. Yeah. Yep. These are just... These people are mentally deranged, folks. They're totally mentally deranged. They are off their rockers. They are so far gone. It's not even funny. All right. Last thing I want to cover in the last few... Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to hold that over. Well, yeah, I'm gonna hold that one over because I got a couple other things I want to talk about for tomorrow. Hopefully, thing isn't going to be... Anyway, Trump has apparently slapped now a 25% tariff on Japan, South Korea, and he warns against retaliation. He says, please understand that this 25% number is far less than what is needed to eliminate the trade deficit disparity we have with your country. So he announced this today, following his extension of the Liberation Day tariff deadline initially scheduled for April. He posted some of the letters addressed to the leaders of both countries informing them of the new tariffs. The new 25% blanket tariffs will be in addition to the sector-specific tariffs that are already in place. The tariffs on Japan and South Korea will go into effect on August 1st. So, yeah, so here we go again. We're on the tariff roller coaster thing, just to give you an idea. But he does say that if you wish to open your heretofore closed trading markets to the United States and eliminate your tariff and non-tariff policies and trade barriers, we will perhaps consider an adjustment to this letter. These tariffs may be modified upward or downward depending upon our relationship with your country. You will never be disappointed with the United States of America. He posted these letters shortly after Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, told CNBC on Monday morning that several trade announcements would come in the next 48 hours. Trump hinted this last week that he was going to send these letters out, outlining their new tariff rates. And so, yeah, there are ongoing trade talks, but no talks have yielded any results, which is exactly why the tariffs are being put back into place and are going to be on. So anyway, so there we go. So Trump is again trying to hold that carrot and stick approach, and of course the leftists will probably freak out over that as well. Let's see. Is there anything? No, there's nothing I can hit in 2 minutes. But anyway, these people are they're just nuts. I'm literally determined that they are just utter stupid morons, complete utter stupid morons. And, yeah. I would love for them to pick up the Constitution of the United States. You can find it in this book, this leather-bound U.S. Constitution. Yeah, this will be tomorrow nights. That's probably tomorrow nights. But anyway. Oh, you know something I haven't done in a while? I haven't said this. Lyndon, who's a good boy? Who's a good boy, Lyndon? Who's a good boy? You waiting for that steak? Steak and a tater? Anyway. All right, folks, that is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor. Head on over to rumble.com. Get yourself an account. It is free. And once you are signed up and signed in, make sure that you search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget to hit those thumbs up and, of course, thumbs downs if you really want to. Across all of my platforms, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.